Well, this is a very classy radio. Channel master, 8 transistor, cordless, RF stage super fringe. And I almost want to assume they were trying to compete with the Sony Mantle radio. I forget the model number of it, but I featured one here, and it was a very good performing radio. So, Channel Masters made by Sanyo, and they always have bad electrolytic capacitors in them. Always. All dried out. According to the viewer who sent this to me, there was a lot of damage from leaking batteries, and it's nice that Channel Master has it sectioned off so that the alkaline vapors cannot go into the radio and destroy the board. It looks like he tried to clean it here, and interesting, it has 3 different screws in it. So let me get this apart and let's power it up and take a look at the inside and see what it does and check it out. Here's the inside. It has an absolutely massive speaker, and yes, Sanyo. Massive speaker, a massive bar antenna. Look at this thing. It has a 3-gang banana slicer. It has a huge audio output transformer. It has a huge interstage transformer. Someone changed that electrolytic right there. It has had some capacitors changed. That one and that one. But all of these are garbage. All of these green capacitors with the writing on top, they're all garbage. Green, blue. What happened to the can that was on that IF transformer? The can is missing. I almost think that can was missing from the factory, because if you look at the glue, look at the glue on that capacitor. That glue was molded to that circular tuning slug. So yeah, we've had a couple capacitors changed here. I just hope they're installed the right direction, because you really have to pay attention when replacing electrolytics. You cannot just assume the direction they go in. You have to verify it. I've got 6 volts applied. There's a little scratchy there. So obviously we're passing audio through the amplifier. Bark Point cigarette xylophone. And actually, I can get just a whisper from the speaker. Not that you'd be able to hear it over the wildlife anyway. So that's a good sign, because that really just suggests more open capacitors. I can almost positively see right now that these capacitors are installed wrong, the ones that have been changed. And we can verify that, but if we look at this capacitor right here that's been changed, you can see the negative is pointed up towards the camera. So the negative is this right here. Well, if you follow that, that goes to the main bus of the radio. And it eventually lands here to the red wire, which goes to the red wire on the power switch, and then positive. You know, it's real easy, especially if you work on cars, to automatically assume that the chassis is negative, and it's not. Not on PNP germanium sets. Now, let me stick my foot in my mouth and really got this video screwed up, huh? Okay, so let's see if this capacitor's in here wrong. So I'm going to go like this. And yes, that capacitor is in there wrong. You can see I have positive on the top. Okay, let's check this one. So on this one, one side's going to the volume control. That should be positive. Right? Because if we go around here, we get negative. So this side over here should be positive. And that one is in right. This one is in right. Man, I need to get myself I need my old style camera back. I can't work with this. I can't get the close-ups. And anyway, so this capacitor is in backwards, which probably the only reason it's surviving is because it's a 50-volt cap and you're applying 3 volts to it, which is something else you don't want to do. If this capacitor in there is 6 volts, maybe go to 16, but not go to 50 or 100. And I know some people think that's better. It's not. Okay, let's try and go after this with the signal tracer. I'm having a little hard time following this thing without a schematic, especially with the changed parts. So it comes in, the converter's over here, then we have our IF stages going this way. So
that would have been acceptable to Fringe and his advisors. He didn't pay this much in taxes. He could have set up non-profit.
Since 20 care packs, 250.
Leukemia. Christine in Illinois would like to pray for all families.
okay.
Is praying for his aunt Colette, who has been in ICU.
It's interesting. Why does it sound like that coming?
And Roseanne in Madison, Wisconsin, requests prayers for the soul of Father Jim McInerney.
Let me see.
A big party. Smith, may he rest in peace.
So this is IF1.
As we forgive those who trespass against us, and lead us not into temptation.
Great, the Lord is with thee. And blessed is the fruit of thy womb, Jesus.
So that's the IF transformer right there that has the missing can, which I don't believe it ever had one. This is the next IF transformer. This is the last IF transformer. I believe this right here is the detector diode. So why is it...
Blessed art thou amongst women, the fruit of thy womb, Jesus.
Mary, Mother of God, pray for us sinners. At the hour of
There's Lace and Karen Bills.
So why does it sound like trash? Can we see that? Let's see, can I... Converter, first IF, second IF.
Mother of God, pray for us sinners, now and at the hour of our death.
Mary, grace, the Lord is with thee. Blessed art thou amongst women, and blessed is the...
So it sounds like trash coming out of that transistor. It should be stronger.
Blessed art thou amongst women, and blessed is the fruit of thy womb, Jesus.
Is that transistor bad? See if I can get on the base.
Thy womb, Jesus.
Holy Mary, Mother of God, pray for us sinners, now and at the hour of our death.
So that's,
Hail Mary,
that's going into this transistor.
blessed is the fruit of thy womb, Jesus.
Holy Mary,
That's
Mother of
coming
God,
out.
pray for us sinners, now and at the hour of is now and ever shall.
So interesting. This transistor appears to be garbage.
All souls to heaven, especially those in most need of thy mercy.
That's weird. These Sanyo transistors usually don't die.
You can go to our website, relevantradio.com/ and get that free book. It's a very powerful prayer. Covers absolutely beautiful.
Because I was looking at all these capacitors here, and these are all 30 microfarad, which are usually bypass, not coupling. Now he replaced this with a 47, and 47 is way too big. It should be 4.7.
Him in over 30 years. Rita in Texas.
Well, we got nothing on the other side. Do we have a shorted detector diode? Loading it down?
Believing in God and practicing the faith at age 15. Charlotte and San Diego, California had a news report. Previously, she job for her son, who had lost his restaurant of that he is now employed with a food services company.
Huh.
Just a couple nights a week.
Well, we got something wrong right there. I don't know what yet. But obviously each stage it should get louder, and that stage it's not getting louder, it's getting quiet and distorted. We have nothing on the output side of the detector diode. Let me do some checking there. Using Diode Check, this is a germanium diode. It should be well, I just broke it off, but I had tested it and it was testing bad. So measuring it one way, I get nothing. Measuring it the other way, I get 0.5. So it's not a germanium diode. It is a silicone diode. Yeah, silicone diode. And it's actually working. So maybe it wasn't soldered. Well, wait a second. Why have we got reverse leakage there? I just saw reverse leakage. Okay, now I got nothing again. What's going on here? Okay, I'm getting all kinds of funky readings from this diode. Of course, it won't do it when the camera's on, but there we go. 1 volt. Or is it just the solder is so damn corroded? 600 millivolts. I don't know. Let's see what it sounds like with the diode out.
In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Use that phonic squad. The game day drink is the right place too. I'm going with Captain Morgan. A flavorful start. Yeah.
I know why it sounds like that. It sounds like that because it's overloading because there's no AFC. I'm not AFC, AGC. AVC, AGC. Without the diode working, it's not developing any voltage to cut the gain down.
Que trabajan con sus títulos. Ven, a ver lo que sabes de esos menores de la mayoría están de la muerte son de 1 a 4 años. ¿Cuáles son los que están?
I think this diode is bad. So the reason, again, because I like to screw stuff up when I talk, the reason why it's distorting on the last stage is because without the diode, it doesn't develop any automatic volume control or automatic gain control, same thing, voltage. When it gets the high voltage because of a strong signal, it cuts the gain of the transistors down. So I think this diode is bad. Let me grab another diode. This is a 1N60P Schottky diode. Alright, I got the 1N60 screwed in here because if I touch it. So listen to this diode. Okay, now listen to the diode that's in here. Something is flaky with that diode. Something is flaky inside that. Okay, our new diode is installed. It is right there. And here's something for edumacation time. You know why the leads are so long on that? to keep the heat away from it when they solder it. These diodes are very susceptible to being heated up by a soldering iron and ruined. So, well, here's the...
2% del total de esta región del país. De inmediato se aplica. 2 y 2 para. Restrictions on first and safer water because of the worsening drought. And while LA plans to limit the watering of lawns and plants to 2 days a week, the city of Claremont has decided to go even further with a rule of just 1 day per week. It could end up making a lot of lawns turn brown and maybe even die, but this year, it's the regular season when it was healthy and certainly plants and therefore exerting.
Do not respond to this call we're going to offer you unless you want these benefits. I want no risk. I want a good interest rate.
Yeah, the reason why there's that delay is because those capacitors are too big.
Do you know of anything like that on this planet? That's why we're calling it the unicorn.
I only drive BMWs or Mercedes. So this thing would be absolutely incredible. Incredible performer, incredible sound with the capacitors changed and out in the desert. You could see it just totally, it can't even handle KNX. It just blows out. It can't even handle KNX.
California Deluxe Windows engineered for life. Certain terms and conditions apply. CSLB number 77459.
Yeah, it can't handle it. Well, that's a new one, a bad detector diode. So check this out. How big of a difference that makes? That's just one of the 30s that's open. So I pulled his 247s out and put 4.7s in. And now I'm going to use his 47s to replace a couple of these 30s. I've changed most of the 30 microfarad capacitors. And this thing is so sensitive, it's picking up a country station I've never heard before. I gotta wait until the station IDs, because I've never heard this station before. So that was just a Latin station. Anyway, that's the volume all the way down. And here's another open 30. Listen. Geez, that's the volume all the way down. like the pot is bad. Okay, the Channel Master transistor radio has been fully recapped. I replaced all the electrolytics, as I mentioned, really needed to be done at the beginning of this video with any Sanyo or Channel Master radio. When I turned it on today, it had kind of a weird problem. It acted like a tube set where it was just, you heard the background hiss of the amplifier, and it took some time for the converter, the front end, to kick in and it to actually start receiving a station. Now, I don't know if that was a leaky electrolytic that was semi-shorted and had to sort of reform and open up. We won't really know that until it sits, you know, overnight, and we'll see if there's a long delay. That could be a bad transistor. You know, I changed the bigger ones, the 100s and 200s. Here's a look at the fully recapped board. Like I said, I changed all of the electrolytics, every single one, and I verified they are installed correctly, both by double checking with pictures and the voltmeter. I'm going to head out of town next week for a day, so maybe we'll take this out to the deep desert and see how it performs in a rural environment. So we'll end the radio with that. If the weird warm-up delay issue does not return, that very well could have just been a bad capacitor. So we'll see what the next clip holds. The other thing is that right there is the volume all the way down. So either the volume control is bad, or it was designed like that so you didn't leave it on and run the batteries down. I know they did that with some of these. They intentionally designed the volume control to not go all the way to a minimum, so you didn't just turn it down when the phone rang and then forget about it and run the batteries down. So I don't know, it seems pretty loud to me for a built-in feature. I got to get a few seconds of this in here.
This is a test. This is a test. This is only a test. This is only a test. Today is a great day testing. This is only a test.
It's been testing for years.
This is a test.
Well, it's been sitting for a few hours and it's gone back to sleep. It's still drifting.
This is a test. This is a test. This is only a test.
So when I turned it off at the end of the last video clip, it was dialed in on that station.
Today is a great day testing.
I'm thinking it's a converter transistor. Problem is, these are difficult things to troubleshoot because you have to leave it off for another 2 hours. But I think what I'm going to do is hook a scope up to the converter and we'll see if it's the oscillator, the converter transistor, not starting.
Van de vacaciones. Up nearly 20%. That was rocking. Or combination thereof. It does not matter. It could be even former President Barack Obama's family, Donald Trump's family. It could be any politician on any level.
Okay. I'm clipped on to the oscillator there with a low capacitance probe. It's right on. Let's let it sit for an hour and come back and see what's going on. See, if I give it power, it should start right up.
Fine to watch Rick Jacobs, X, Y, or Z, and that probably doing whatever he wants.
It's kind of weird how it creeps up there. It's not instant.
Of Paul Pelosi, husband of Speaker.
Okay, we'll come back. Okay, here we go. It's been sitting for about an hour. I haven't done anything. I'm going to apply power right now.
Founder of River Hill Plumbing. I used to take everything for granted. I assumed my father would live forever. He didn't. When I only got one Christmas gift, I threw a pan.
That's interesting.
Pleasant to be around. Today, they give me my successes and my failures for the lessons they teach me. I'm also grateful for my team for the 5-star service.
This is going to be a difficult diagnosis when it only misbehaves after it sits overnight. Crap. It's the next day. I'm going to power it up. I got the signal generator on standby. I'll just go straight to the IF if the oscillator starts and there's no noise. Let me make sure the volume is up. And then here we go. And there it is. It's being quiet, but we do have oscillator.
And unleash your creative freedom. Maybe even earn enough money to one day tell your old boss, hey, I'm no settler. I'm an explorer. Spreaker.com. S-P-R-A-E-R. That's a long old.
Hey everyone, Mario Lopez here. I am a native Southern Cali boy, so I know a little bit about hot temperatures and drought. But now that we're in our third consecutive year of it, Sam Bam is stepping up to make water saving a way of life. We even made it fun planting water smart plants with our kids and adjusting our sprinklers so we only water where needed. Totally changed our yard game, and we're doing other things too, and so can you. Visit saveourwater.com to get more tips. Let's save California's water. Well, they did it. Now you can only water your yard one day a week. Say goodbye to that nice green yard and say hello to brown, dry, dead grass. With rough and tough turf, you're going to keep your lush green yard all year round. Plus, you'll save money on water, gardening, the whole run. With rough and tough turf, you're going to get a 5-year install warranty and mention KFI to get free demo.
Okay, well, unfortunately, this is very hard to see with the reflection. I hate this scope for that. The reason why it was going up and down was because the light bulb, the current limiting light bulb. Okay, here's what we need to do. I think it's the first IF transistor because what I saw was the oscillator running, and the first IF transistor, there was no signal and it slowly came up. So I got to reset, got to wait. I got to start over. Is the oscillator running? I mean, I guess it could be the RF amp, but I don't know. Would the RF amp totally kill it? I guess it could. What we need to do is check the signal going into the first IF and coming out.
Franchise around these.
That's going into the first IF amp.
That. If you're wondering,
that's coming out of the first IF amp.
Say that there's a Kenny Loggins sighting, but I can say
it's been sitting for a few hours. Let's try it again. The signal signal tracer is on. Watching the scope.
If your business has 5 or more employees and you manage to survive COVID,
we got sound here.
Payroll tax rebate of 20.
It is the first IF transistor.
The challenge is getting your hands on it. How do you cut through the red tape? How does your business get the money? Go to getrefunds.com. There's in this little.
I caught you, you little. So the oscillator started immediately. We saw it on the scope. I had the signal tracer on the base, the input base of the first IF transistor. I had the radio station coming out of the signal generator, but not the speaker. I moved it to the collector or emitter, which is the output. And there was no signal there, and then it started to come up. So it's got to be that transistor. I mean, I guess it could be one of those, what do you call them? Those carbon resistors, but I don't know. The original transistor was a Sanyo 2SA202. I tried a Russian, is this a GT309? GT309. It didn't work as well as I ended up putting a 2N2431 in there, and of course the alignment's a little bit different because the capacitance of that transistor is different. I'm pretty sure I got it though, because it seems instant now. I mean, even before with this transistor there was a little delay. But I gotta let it sit overnight to be 100% sure. But I'm very sure I got it. I mean, it was obvious when it acted up with the signal tracer what was going on. This has been a weird radio repair. Transistor radios are either real simple, a couple of capacitors, or they're a mind puzzle. And this one was a mind puzzle.
Testing. Today is a great day testing. This is only a test. This is a test. This is a test. This is only a test. This is only a test. Today is a great day testing. This is only a test. This is a test. This is a test. This is only a test. This is only a test. Today is a great day testing. This is only a test.
You kind of have to listen to the 1000 hertz tone and not miss thing. That's dialed in. Now I'm going to put some wax in those.
So this is great for us as a population. You know, we'll be able to have our little domicile, our sleeping pods in the urban jungles. We won't have any means of self-defense, but we'll have virtual reality. We'll have lots of hard drugs to keep our minds occupied, and we won't own anything, and we'll be happy as all hell. Sounds like a great plan to me. Why not take the rights away from people who obey the law and give more rights to people who break the law? I mean, it makes perfect sense, right? I mean, hey.
Absolutely. This guy is just legit right here. So anyway, the transistor didn't fix it. So I'm diddling around here with my thumb up my back hole, and yeah, I'm just completely stargnosticated as to what's up with this. Anyway, I started doing some research on what model this set was, because the model number is not on the bottom of this radio. So I started looking around and I found a 6510 that looks exactly like this, but the 6510 does not have the RF amp. It's 2 transistors less than this set. So I started searching eBay, and of course there's a bunch of these listed on eBay, and like I said, there's the model with the RF amp, which is the 6520, and there's the model without the RF amp, which is the 6510. And it took me a while to figure that out, but I found a schematic here, and it is a 6520. So we need to take a minute and look at the schematic and offer a few corrections that I made working on this set. Initially, 2 capacitors were replaced with 47 microfarads. I thought they would be around between 1 and 5 microfarads because they were in the volume control circuit. But this set, they only use 30 microfarad. Like every electrolytic in this set is a 30 microfarad. Why you would need a 30 microfarad there and there, you don't. I don't know if they were just cheap, but yeah, every single capacitor in this radio is a 30 microfarad, with the exception of a few in the power supply, which are 100 and 200. So anyway, this is the transistor we changed. And what's weird is these transistors are a different number than the ones that were in here. So this might not be the exact schematic, but I think it's pretty close. So this is the stage that doesn't have any gain when you turn it on and it's quiet. And I will say, after I changed that transistor, it's a lot more consistent now. You turn it on and it consistently takes time to come up once it's been off 5 minutes. So what we want to do now is start looking at some DC voltages. Also in the beginning, I changed the detector diode, which is right here, which I was right, it was a 1N60. And I talked about the feedback. Well, the feedback voltage is right here, this line. If you follow this, so when you pick up a strong station, it develops a voltage here, or here, one of the two, and that voltage comes back and reduces the gain. Okay, now I've lost myself. You're fighting with this non-paper. So what we want to do, see, so this cuts the RF amp back. So I wonder if we got an open resistor in here. So when we develop a voltage here, This capacitor should block it. You know, maybe the fault is this capacitor. Because remember, one of the capacitors was in backwards, and I took and I moved it to a different spot. Maybe that capacitor is damaged and is leaky. Let me check this. Because if this capacitor was leaky, it would cause the biasing to cut the gain down, I think. So we're going to do some voltage checks here. Okay, we're going to start by checking this base voltage on the RF amp. So here goes. Let's turn this on, make sure it's turned up. Okay, it's wide open, should blow us out of the room. Here we go. See it dropping? Okay, why? Okay, get rid of the light bulb. Let me try something here. So when the voltage is high, when the voltage is, see the diode check's applying a voltage. When the voltage is 1.7 volts, it cuts the front end off. So when I hit a strong station,
painting and repainting. They can say that. Contextos gratis en todo. Fórmula. Graduated. 1700. 800-945-1700. Or visit deluxelifecoat.com. Certain terms and conditions apply. CSLB number 1052855.
Nature Valley has helped restore access to 10,000 miles of national park trails. And we're on our way to restoring even more, because every mile is a new memory. Life happens out there. Nature Valley.
This is KNX News 97.1 FM, Southern California's only 24-hour local news and traffic station. Good evening, I'm Brian Tang.
And I'm Karen Adams. Our top story at 6:30. They say the first responders did not hesitate. A shooter is down at a medical building in Tulsa, Oklahoma.
He killed 4 people before he killed himself. We have in-depth team coverage now at 6:31.
CBS News special report. 4 people in addition to a gunman are dead after a shooting at a medical...
So that seems backwards. It seems like that voltage should go up when you hit a strong station, thereby cutting the gain down. Or actually, it's going more negative. I have, going up.
Shooting took place at a medical clinic that is adjacent to a major hospital in Tulsa, Oklahoma, with a emergency Coleslaw goes. Look, Jorge. Down, and still to this moment there are.
El 0 y 3, 4 series.
This is not working right. That voltage should be all over the place.
5 miles outside of Tulsa now tell him that it does not appear to be a bomb in a home connected to the Tulsa shooter. CBS News special report.
No wonder why it's overloading and distorting. Did I put the diode in backwards? No, the diode is installed correctly.
By clear and convincing evidence that the statement by Mr. Waldman was made.
So that is correct. I'm on the diode. So when you hit a strong station, it goes negative.
There are going to be certain products that aren't going to be on the shelves anymore. Leopard says suppliers are being asked what an item is worth.
Southbound side.
I lifted one capacitor here that I changed. Maybe it's defective, but it seemed like when we turned it on, that voltage was way negative. It was negative and it started to move towards positive, which, remember, this is the other way around because this is PNP transistors. So what I think I need to do is monitor that again and see which way that goes. And if it's going towards negative, which would be positive. Okay, this is super confusing. I might suspect the RF amp transistor of leaking voltage down through here. Leaking voltage onto that point. We're just going to have to keep at this and let it cool off and then do it and let it cool off and do it. So I'm going to let it sit here for an hour and I'll come back. So I lifted that capacitor and I checked that resistor. They're good. So what I did is I'm starting to suspect the RF amp of leaking voltage when it's after it sits for a while. So what I did is I disconnected the line below that 1000 ohm resistor where that comes back over and connects to this emitter right here, connects to there, and I disconnected that and I put a 10K resistor there to ground. I know you can't see it right now, but it's right there, that yellow wire. So what I can do, I'm going to let this sit overnight, then I'm going to put my meter on that 10K resistor and I'm going to watch that voltage and I'm going to see if that voltage starts out high, meaning negative, and then slowly creeps positive. Right now it's at 0.1 volt. Okay, so measuring with, I know this is very confusing, but with the negative of the meter on, with the negative of the meter on the chassis and the positive on the 10K resistor.
Cuban airports other than Havana. And
oh, wait a second, we didn't even have to leave it off for very long.
Coming up next, but first, our top local story at 8:03. Well, a gunshot fired out of the car after school strikes a student outside Grant High in Van Nuys.
Detectives at the scene say the gunshot wound to the high school boy is not life-threatening. They say it came out of a green sedan with 4 people inside. School PD heard and responded quickly.
Boy, that sure looks like it's that RF amp transistor doing that, because I got it isolated off now. I think the RF amp transistor is jacked up and is sending voltage into the AVC line and causing the whole thing to shut down after it sits.
Intended targets. Reporting from Van Nuys, Natalie Tavidian, KNX News 97.1 FM.
Daniela USD has issued a statement denouncing gun violence, saying there will be a team of counselors on site.
Yeah, I think the RF amp transistor These Sanyo transistors usually don't fail. This is a little bit of a new one for me. And I don't know if the IF transistor was bad. There we go again. Why the hell would that do that? Okay, we got 2 meters here. The one on the right, the gold star, is connected to the base of the RF amp, and the one on the left, the fluke, is connected to the emitter of the first IF transistor that we replaced. They are separated, and I added a 10K resistor on the base of the RF amp just to stabilize it. So here we go. I'm going to turn it on.
Petitioning a corrupt judge. So the judge was not a good man.
So what did we see happen there? The RF amp started out high and then came down.
But he's using it as a kind of an a fortiori argument.
Sure looks like there's something going on with that RF amp transistor.
A bit surprised if suddenly doors start swinging open. That seemed locked before. 888-914-9149. We'll go now to Sarah in Kansas City.
Let me bypass the light bulb.
And like anytime you bring up something good about the church, they would respond to.
Okay, I'm going to do this again. I'm going to leave it on a non-station. But it sure looks like that RF amp, didn't it start off at like 2 volts? And it's still creeping down. It's been sitting an hour. I'm not going to touch the tuning. I'm just going to click it on. Definitely something up with that RF amp. Can I even get to that transistor? It might be underneath that wheel. Crap.
This is the iHeart.
I changed the RF amp and that fixed it. At least I've said that before in this video, but it really seems rock solid now, and that transistor tests like really leaky and bad. So this is an amazing. The only problem now is the volume control's bad. That's minimum volume.
Throughout the weekend, and then by the start of next week, we're gearing up for another warming trend on tap.
.com/Forrester to learn more about how you can.
Temperatures right now, current 70.
So we'll just have to wait and see, just have to let it sit for a couple hours just to be extra sure. Look at the leakage, 1.59 milliamps. 2 milliamps. You just keep hitting it, you get different results. 2.37 milliamps. This thing is I was wrong on this video. At the beginning of the video I said I don't think it's the RF amp. Well, there it is. It's the RF amp. And I think the IF transistor is probably good. Is just faking it out because of the way it's connected. But I'm not going to put the other one back in because then I'd have to realign it. And I got it aligned and waxed. The replacement transistor I used was a Soviet, I think it's a GT322, four lead with the grounded can like the old one. And that's an 80 megahertz transistor, so that should be more than good enough. This thing is a full-on multicultural experience now. We've got a American-made first IF transistor, Japanese-made transistors, Malaysia, Taiwan, and China-made capacitors, and a Soviet RF amp transistor. So this thing should be acceptable by today's standards of inclusivity. That's it, inclusivity. I need my sensitivity training to learn how to pronounce inclusivity. Okay, here's the schematic. I want to show you what's going on, but I'm going to rotate the camera like this. See if you can follow along here. So here's the RF amp right here. What was happening is this transistor was leaking down from the collector to the base, and then the voltage on the base would come up, and the base connects back through this line here, and then it connects up to the emitter of the first IF transistor. And when this would go more negative than the base, it would essentially shut this transistor off. That's why I thought this transistor was what was misbehaving. It still could be, but I really think the main issue was this right here. Anyway, the radio is working good now. Hopefully we'll take it out and do a rural test at the end of this video. But yeah, that's the Channel Master 6520. I don't see a date on this. 60s? 1963. There you go. The only problem is the pot.
5 eastbound side also slows from Van Nuys Boulevard.
That's all the way down.
Check with Brian Douglas, taking a look at Brom down in Orange County, Southern California.
So it needs a new pot, and it'd be a killer radio. Like I said, there's a lot of these on eBay. There's a 6510, which does not have the RF amp, and there's a 6520, but none of them work. You know, they're all going to need a lot of work. I installed a 1K resistor there to kind of quiet it down. So when you put it on...
I can go help the city that I love. And that is admirable.
When you flip the tone to low, it quiets it way down. It inserts that resistor.
What does he know about my day-to-day problems? You know, more and more people are living paycheck to paycheck. Frankly, that you don't have, so how...
So maybe that makes it more usable. I don't know.
I understand.
We're going to put the Channel Master to the test here. We're going to see how super fringe it really is. I'm about 250 miles from LA out at my friend's mine site. And on a good radio during the day, you can pick up KNX out here. And we're going to start with the Sony And this is by far the most sensitive radio that I have, so...
LA's mayor has appointed a person to lead citywide efforts to respond to public health threats caused by climate change.
She is the first chief heat officer for the city of Los Angeles. Her name is Marta Segura, and she is tasked with planning ways to literally lower the temperature in Los Angeles.
Does she have purple hair? All right, here we go.
Investments and efforts to reduce that hazard in low-income communities, because most of our low-income rentals don't come with ACs or much less air filtration systems.
Money to subsidize LA's effort to install more air conditioning will come from the city's $10.5 million climate equity fund. The money...
Wait a second. Installing more air conditioning just creates more greenhouse gas and creates a heat island effect. Hello?
We've got the problem on the 10 East at National Boulevard in West LA. Your next traffic in 4 minutes. It's 11:11.
Adjusting bonus pay. Signing up for eco-friendly rebates. All to create a clean energy California. And thanks to programs and incentives...
Let's try tweaking the alignment out here.
...to ensure clean...
Convert it into cash, not with an equity line of credit or a HELOC. Those can be frozen, but with a cash-out refinance or a reverse mortgage, even if the rate is higher, because when inflation is out of control, the last thing you want to be is property rich, cash poor. Call me, Tom Brown, proud Navy veteran, 844-949-5600. Call 844-949-5600. Or Google the Tom Brown Group. This is a special alert to all Americans who own a vehicle with less than 200,000 miles with an auto warranty allowed. Support the coverage at all. Due to a decline in the economy, CarShield is announcing a low-cost, month-to-month vehicle protection plan that is now available to the public to save any driver out-of-pocket expenses on future auto repairs. Call now to find out how you can save almost nothing.
That ticking...
Yes, you heard that correctly.
The ticking is it picking up the phone.
Has been established for all drivers to call 800-417-5101 now. Drivers who are covered will not have to pay for covered repairs.
Okay, so this one we fixed. The Vega Soviet radio, absolutely nothing. No hint of KNX, and it was working good when I left the city. So the channel master is kind of passing the test. Okay, this one that we did a lot of work on in a previous video, it's picking it up, but barely, and it's really noisy.
Officials of an LA public agency now promising to take action to stop employees from criminal improvements meant being attributed to the homeless. I'm pledging to the staff. His crew documented the food tossing over a period of several weeks. We caught workers.
Okay, this is a Selga 404 Soviet radio. This should be a pretty good radio. The volume is wide open, and it's cutting it too. But this should be, the Soviet stuff is really, they're really made for, you know, low signal environments. You know, I mean,
5 million people went through LAX in the month of April. That's a big increase compared to April of 2021. We're up 77%. And also up, internationally speaking, 195%.
so the 404 is cutting it. So the Sony is still number 1. The Channel Master comes in number 2. The Selga number 3, and the Sunmark number 4. Too bad the Vega does nothing. I forgot I grabbed this one. This is one I did a video on when I was quarantined with COVID, the second round of COVID in 2022. January 2022, I did a video on this one while I was quarantined outside with only used parts off of a TV chassis to fix it. That was a cool video. And this one's actually getting KNX, but it's worse than the Sunmark. See, I don't know if you can hear it, but that's... Did I bring any more? I might have a GE. Actually, I think we might be able to wake this one up a little bit. Yeah, a little bit.
Overestimate the effectiveness of policing, fail to calculate the costs, and fail to consider what we could do other than policing. And for whatever the public safety problem is that you're concerned about,
does okay on FM.
Credible alternatives that we could be implementing right now that would allow us to reduce our reliance on policing. We need to get police out of the drug business, out of the mental health crisis response business, out of schools, out of homeless outreach, out of sex work, out of gang suppression, and put in place interventions that try to lift people up, try to repair communities, try to create greater solidarity in our society.
Okay, George Gascon, time for you to go bye-bye. Okay, one more. This is a General Electric P977. KNX is just a change in the background noise on this one. Absolutely nothing. But it is picking up KFI. In fact, all of these are picking up KFI pretty good, which is sort of interesting. KNX, I thought, they're both 50 kilowatt clear channels, but I thought KNX was a little bit better. Maybe it's just where I'm at.
317, Jalen Brown shot 10.
Of course, that noise is the camera.
And he's looking at the Samsung, what's called the Freestyle.
This is a kick-ass radio.
I definitely enjoyed that. Now, we don't want to give short shrift.
This is right underneath the Sony performance-wise.
Continues. So we've been praying for an end to 1145 in the Pointe Hill. And lived there the first 4 years of my life.
So when you come out to a place like this, you know, and we could zoom in here on the kind of long dirt road. When you come to a place like this, this is the real test of one of these radios. You can say whatever you want performance-wise, but if the radio actually makes the cut out here, then the radio is legit, solid, good performer. And this Channel Master passes the test all the way around, passes the test. So this thing kicks ass. Like I said, there's a bunch of them for sale on eBay. None of them work. They're all going to take a bunch to get them to work. And they're not cheap. I mean, you look at their price like $30 with $65 shipping. So you're looking at a C note no matter how you go on something like this. But definitely a long video, but I think a well-rounded, proven, tested video.